You're overreacting. Troy said it with a smirk, the same one he always wore when I questioned anything. We were standing in our kitchen in Tampa, the afternoon sun streaming through the window, making everything look peaceful. But I didn't feel peaceful. I felt small. Again. My phone vibrated on the counter between us. His mother's name flashed across the screen. Patricia. She never called me. In 6 years of marriage, she'd only ever called Troy. My hand reached for the phone slowly. Troy's smirk faded. Don't answer that, he said quickly. Too quickly. I picked it up anyway. Hello. Patricia's voice came through shaky, wrong. Olivia. We need to talk. Alone. I looked at Troy. His face had gone pale. Why is your mother calling me instead of you? I asked him. He didn't answer. Just stared at my phone like it was a bomb about to explode. Patricia's voice came again, urgent. Please. Before I lose my nerve. Before I continue, please smash the like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you keep getting our stories. Drop your comments if you've ever been betrayed. I walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Troy didn't follow, which was strange. He always followed when he thought I was upset. Patricia's breathing was heavy on the other end. I can't keep lying anymore, she whispered. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping the phone. Lying about what? My voice came out steadier than I felt. She was quiet for so long I thought she'd hung up. Then, about you. About him. About everything I've watched happen in this house. My heart pounded. Patricia, what are you talking about? He told me you'd never figure it out. That you'd always believe him over yourself. Her voice cracked. I helped him do it. God forgive me, I helped him. I could hear Troy pacing in the hallway outside. Helped him do what? But she was crying now, real sobs that made her words jumble. Meet me tomorrow. Alone. I'll tell you everything. She hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, hearing Troy's footsteps stop outside the door. What lie had lasted this long? This isn't about one fight. It's not about one bad day or one harsh word. This is about the 6 years I spent learning to doubt every feeling I had, every instinct that screamed something was wrong. I need you to understand that before I tell you the rest. Because when people hear gaslighting, they think of obvious lies, cruel insults, dramatic betrayals. But this was quieter, softer, more surgical. It started so small I didn't even notice. A raised eyebrow when I expressed an opinion. A gentle correction about something I remembered differently. Are you sure that's what happened? He'd ask, sounding genuinely concerned. You've been so stressed lately. And I'd doubt. I'd second guess. I'd apologize. Over time, I learned that my version of events was usually wrong. My feelings were usually too much. My concerns were usually unnecessary. I learned to stay quiet, to smile, to trust his reality over mine. Who trained me to do that? Who benefits when you stop trusting yourself? I'm about to tell you. And you need to know, I almost didn't survive it. The first time I felt it was at his brother's birthday dinner, 3 months after our wedding. We were at a restaurant in Clearwater, surrounded by his family. I'd made a comment about wanting to go back to school for my master's degree. Troy laughed. Not meanly, just enough. Babe. You barely finished your bachelor's. Let's be realistic. His mother smiled. His brother chuckled. His father nodded like Troy had said something wise. I felt my face burn. I did finish, I said quietly. I graduated with honors. Troy reached over and squeezed my hand. Of course you did. I just meant with your anxiety. More school might be overwhelming. I'm looking out for you. Everyone nodded. Looking out for me. I smiled and changed the subject. But later in the car, I asked him why he said that. Said what? He seemed genuinely confused. About me barely finishing college. I didn't say that. You're remembering wrong. I went silent. Was I? Why was I always the punchline? Why did I leave that dinner feeling stupid instead of celebrated? It became a pattern I couldn't name. Every time I raised a concern, it became stress. Every time I set a boundary, it became drama. When I asked why he spent so much time at his mother's house without inviting me, he said I was being clingy. When I questioned a charge on our credit card, he said I was being controlling. When I mentioned feeling lonely in our marriage, he said I was being ungrateful. Look at this house, he'd say, gesturing around our rental. Look at the life I've given you. And you're complaining? I wasn't complaining. I was asking to be seen. But somehow, every conversation ended with me apologizing. For being too sensitive. Too needy. Too much. His mother would call during these fights. Is everything okay? She'd ask Troy, not me. I'd hear him in the next room. She's just having one of her episodes. Episodes. Like I was sick. Like my reality was a symptom. I started keeping my concerns to myself. It was easier. Safer. Who benefits when you stay quiet? The person who needs you silent. Patricia never defended me. Not once in 6 years. When Troy made jokes at my expense, she laughed. When he dismissed my ideas, she nodded along. When he told stories that painted me as irrational, she'd add her own observations. Olivia does get worked up easily, she'd say, smiling sympathetically. I thought she just didn't like me. That I'd failed somehow to win her approval. But she wasn't hostile. She was watchful. She'd sit at our kitchen table during her visits, asking questions that felt caring but left me exposed. How are you feeling, dear? Still anxious. Troy mentioned you've been forgetful lately. Have you seen someone about that? She took notes, I realize now. Mental notes. About my weaknesses, my fears, my doubts. She stayed silent when it mattered, spoke up when it helped Troy's narrative. Until yesterday, when everything changed. When she called me instead of him. When her voice shook with something I'd never heard before. Guilt. What changed? What finally broke through years of practiced complicity? That's what I needed to find out. I met Patricia at a coffee shop in St. Petersburg, far from our neighborhood. She looked older than I'd ever seen her, her hands trembling as she held her cup. He needed you unsure, she said before I even sat down. No greeting. No small talk. Just the truth finally. I sat slowly. Unsure about what? About yourself. About your memory, your judgment, your worth. She stared into her coffee. So you'd never leave. The words hung between us. I wanted to be angry, but I was too stunned. Why would he need that? Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Because confident women ask questions. They demand answers. They leave when they're not respected. She looked up at me. He couldn't risk that. My throat felt tight. Risk what? Risk losing control. Risk losing access. Her voice dropped. Risk losing the money. I felt cold suddenly, despite the Florida heat outside. What money? She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded paper. Slid it across the table. Your grandmother's inheritance. The one that came through 2 years ago. I stared at the paper. It was a bank statement. An account I'd never seen before, in both our names. The balance made my stomach drop. $243,000. My grandmother left me $50,000, I whispered. Patricia shook her head. She left you $250. Plus interest. It went into this account Troy set up. My hands were shaking now. I never saw this account. Never signed anything. You did. He had you sign papers he said were for health insurance. Tax documents. Refinancing. Her voice was hollow. I was there when he planned it. When he asked me how to do it without you noticing. The coffee shop noise faded to a dull roar. You helped him steal from me? I helped him manage you. She said it like there was a difference. He said you couldn't handle money. That you'd waste it. That he was protecting you. By lying? By forging my signature. By keeping you dependent. She finally met my eyes. So you'd never have the resources to leave. What was hidden in plain sight? Everything. My inheritance. My agency. My escape route. I almost left him once. It was a year ago, after a particularly bad fight where he'd screamed at me for 20 minutes about leaving a light on. I'd stood there taking it, apologizing, until something in me broke. That night, I packed a bag. I had it in the closet, ready to go. I'd looked up apartments, calculated what I could afford on my teaching salary. I was ready. Then Troy found me in the bedroom, sitting on the floor, crying. He dropped to his knees. "Baby, what's wrong? Talk to me." I told him I couldn't do this anymore. That I felt invisible. That I needed things to change. He cried. Real tears, streaming down his face. "I'm so sorry. I've been under so much pressure at work. I've been taking it out on you." He held my hands. "Please don't give up on us. I'll do better. I promise." He suggested couples therapy. Bought me flowers. Took me to dinner. For 2 weeks, he was the man I'd married. I unpacked the bag. I stayed. What did that cost me later? Another year of doubt. Another year of stolen money. Another year of believing his version of me. Please smash the like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you keep getting our stories. Drop your comments if you've ever been betrayed. "It wasn't accidental," Patricia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "None of it was." I was still processing the bank statement, the theft, the betrayal. But this felt bigger. "What do you mean?" "The way he speaks to you. The timing of his kindness after cruelty. The way he questions your memory." She was crying openly now. "We rehearsed it. The words didn't make sense. Rehearsed. He'd call me after your fights. Tell me what happened. We discuss what to say next. How to make you doubt what you knew." She pulled out her phone, scrolled, then turned it to show me. A text conversation between her and Troy from 3 months ago. "Troy. She's asking about the visa bill again. Patricia. Tell her she approved those charges and forgot. Mention her stress at work. Troy. Good call. Patricia. Suggest she see someone about her memory. I'll back you up." I read it 3 times. My vision blurred. "You wrote the script?" "He wrote it. I just helped him deliver it." 6 months ago, Troy suggested I see a doctor. "You've been so forgetful lately," he said gently. "So anxious. I'm worried about you." I'd been feeling off. Tired. Confused. Doubting myself constantly. So I went. The doctor ran tests. Found nothing physically wrong. Suggested therapy for anxiety. I started seeing a therapist who diagnosed me with generalized anxiety disorder. Put me on medication that made me foggy, compliant. "See," Troy said when I came home with the prescription. I knew something was wrong. "I'm glad you're getting help." But I wasn't wrong. I wasn't sick. I was being systematically broken down by someone who promised to love me. The forgetfulness was gaslighting. The anxiety was a normal response to psychological abuse. The medication made me easier to control. "He told me to suggest the doctor," Patricia admitted now. "Said if you had a diagnosis, you'd stop trusting yourself completely." My hands clenched into fists. Who planted that doubt? I already knew. The man who promised to cherish me. And the mother who helped him destroy me. "There's more," Patricia said. She pulled out another document. This one was older, the paper yellowed at the edges. My grandmother's will. I'd never seen the full document, just a letter from the lawyer saying I'd inherited $50,000. But this showed the full bequest. $250,000. Plus the house in Coral Gables. There was a house? My voice cracked. Patricia nodded miserably. "He sold it 18 months ago. Told you the lawyer mishandled the estate. That your grandmother had debts." I remembered that conversation. How sad Troy had seemed. How he'd held me while I cried about losing Grandma's house. The money earmarked for us. For our future. I looked up at Patricia. He spent it all? Not all. Some is left. But he bought rental properties. In his name only. The coffee in my stomach turned acidic. On what and why now? Because I'm dying. Patricia said it simply. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. 3 months, maybe 4. I stared at her. I'm sorry, Don't be. I don't deserve sympathy. She folded her hands. But I deserve a clear conscience. And you deserve the truth. Patricia cried then. Not delicate tears, but the kind that shake your whole body. People in the coffee shop glanced over. I sat frozen, watching this woman who'd spent years dismantling me fall apart. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I'm so sorry for what I helped him do to you. But even through my shock, I noticed something. She wasn't crying for me. She was crying for herself. For her guilt. For her lost time. For the son she'd raised to be a predator. Why did you do it? I asked. My voice was flat now. Emotionless. Why help him hurt me? She wiped her face with a napkin. Because he's my son. Because when he was young, his father did the same thing to me. I went still. Troy's father. He controlled everything. My money, my choices, my reality. I lived that way for 30 years. Her voice hardened. When Troy started dating, I saw him use the same tactics. And instead of stopping it, I taught him how to do it better. The truth was worse than I'd imagined. What were you protecting all these years? My normal. If I admitted what Troy was doing, I'd have to face what his father did to me. There was an understanding between us, Patricia continued. Troy and me. Unspoken but clear. I waited. I wouldn't interfere with how he managed his marriage. And he wouldn't question how I'd managed mine. She looked down. We were protecting each other's lies. I thought about all the family dinners. The holidays. The casual cruelty masked as concern. It was a system. A family business of control and manipulation, passed down like a recipe. You had a deal. I was never part of it. Patricia shook her head. You were the product. The latest victim in a long line. What was the deal? I needed to hear her say it. He keeps you small and manageable. I validate his methods. We both benefit from your compliance. Her voice was mechanical now, like she was reading from a manual. You don't leave. You don't question. You don't cost us anything, financially or emotionally. And in return? He gets your money and your silence. I get to pretend my son is a good man. She finally looked at me. And neither of us has to face what we've become. I stopped confronting Troy after that meeting. I went home, made dinner, smiled when he kissed my cheek. How was your day? He asked. Fine, I said. Just fine. He looked relieved. He'd been tense since his mother called me, but now he relaxed. Probably thought whatever she'd said hadn't landed. But I wasn't fine. I was calculating. I started documenting everything. Every bank statement I could access. Every text message. Every conversation. I kept a journal, dating every entry, recording every dismissal, every contradiction, every moment he rewrote reality. I found the health insurance papers he'd had me sign. Zoomed in on the fine print. Saw the account authorization buried in the back. I contacted my grandmother's estate lawyer. Requested copies of all documents. Learned about the house sale, the properties bought with my money. I did it all silently, calmly, while serving him coffee and asking about his day. What does silence hide? The gathering of evidence. The building of a case. The quiet preparation for war. He thought I'd given up. But I'd just stopped playing his game. 2 weeks later, Troy threw a dinner party. His colleagues from the insurance firm, their wives, his brother and sister-in-law. Our small house in Tampa filled with people and noise. I cooked all day. Cleaned. Made everything perfect. During dinner, someone asked about my teaching job. Olivia's taking a break from work, Troy said smoothly. I looked up. No, I'm not. I'm teaching summer classes. He laughed. Honey, remember? We talked about this. You're overwhelmed. You need rest. Everyone looked at me with concern. Sympathy. Here we go, I thought. The public humiliation. The casual undermining. You must have me confused with someone else, I said lightly. I'm fine. My principal just asked me to head a new program. Troy's smile tightened. You're so forgetful lately. We literally discussed this last night. No, we didn't. I smiled back. But it's okay. You've been working so hard. You must be tired. His face flushed. I turned his tactic back on him. Gently, publicly. The table went quiet. Why wasn't I angry anymore? Because anger is what he wanted. Silence is what he feared. That night, after everyone left, Troy cornered me in the kitchen. What was that? He tried to sound confused, but I heard the edge underneath. What was what? I kept washing dishes. The way you spoke to me. In front of my colleagues. I turned to him, my face neutral. I just corrected a misunderstanding. You seemed confused about my work situation. I wasn't confused. You're the one who... He stopped. Realized he was about to gaslight me again, but it wouldn't work if I wouldn't engage. Olivia, what's going on with you? I dried my hands. Nothing. I'm fine. I walked past him to the bedroom. Closed the door. Locked it. He knocked. Babe, talk to me. I'm tired, Troy. Good night. I heard him stand there for 5 minutes. Then his footsteps retreated. Inside a locked drawer in my nightstand were copies of everything. Bank statements. The will. Property records. Text messages between him and Patricia. Emails to the estate lawyer. Audio recordings of our conversations. Patterns don't lie. Numbers don't gaslight. Evidence doesn't forget. Who else knows the truth? My attorney. And soon, everyone. Please smash the like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you keep getting our stories. Drop your comments if you've ever been betrayed. Patricia called me 3 days after the dinner party. Troy knows I told you. He called me yesterday. He was furious. I stayed calm. What did you say? I told him I gave you everything. Every secret. Every document I had. She paused. I'm on your side now, Olivia. I didn't know if I believed her. But I knew she was useful. Why the change? Because my doctor gave me 2 months yesterday. Because Troy called me a traitor. Because I realized my son is exactly like his father, and I helped create him. She sent me more files that afternoon. Emails where Troy discussed hiding assets. Text conversations about keeping me manageable. Voice memos where Patricia coached him on how to respond to my questions. Bank records showing money moved from our joint account to his personal investments. Property deeds for 3 rental houses bought with my inheritance. Insurance documents naming him as sole beneficiary on policies I didn't know existed. What happens when the witness turns? The whole conspiracy collapses. The abuser loses his ally. The victim becomes the victor. Patricia had spent years building his case. Now she was building mine. I didn't yell. I didn't pack bags in anger or leave dramatic notes. I consulted with an attorney named Bethany Klein. Showed her everything. She sat in her office in downtown Tampa, reviewing documents for an hour while I waited. Finally, she looked up. This is one of the clearest cases of financial abuse I've seen. Possibly fraud. My confidence became more firm and with a calm voice. What do? We file for divorce. We file a police report for the forged documents. We file a civil suit to recover your inheritance. She leaned forward. But you need to move fast. And quietly. I nodded. How quietly? Don't tell him you're leaving until you're gone. Don't confront him about the evidence. Let him think everything is fine. She pulled out a timeline. 1 week. We get all your documents in order, freeze the joint accounts, secure your employment records, file all papers simultaneously. What happens when he realizes too late? Bethany smiled. It wasn't kind. He panics. He scrambles. He makes mistakes. And we use every one of them. I signed the retainer agreement that day. The war was already over. Troy just didn't know it yet. I made Troy his favorite dinner that Friday. Lasagna, garlic bread. His mother's recipe. He came home tired, loosened his tie, kissed my forehead. Smells amazing. We ate. I asked about his day. He told me about a difficult client, office politics. I listened, nodded, responded appropriately. After dinner, we sat on the couch. He put on a football game. I brought him a beer. Liv, he said during a commercial break. I looked over. I feel like we're in a good place again. You seem happier. I smiled. I am. Good. I was worried after you talked to my mom. There it was. She's dying, Troy. She wanted to clear the air before she goes. He nodded slowly. What did she say? That she's sorry for not being a better mother-in-law. That she wishes things had been different. The lies came easily now. He relaxed. That's good. That's really good. He reached for my hand. I let him take it. He expects tears. I gave facts. All my emotions were filed away in Bethany's office, documented and dated. Here, I was just playing a role, waiting for the curtain to fall. Monday morning, Troy left for work at 7:30. By 8, the process server met him in his office parking lot. Divorce papers. Restraining order for financial accounts. Notice of fraud investigation. By 8:30, he was calling me. 23 times. I didn't answer. By 9, he was at the house. I wasn't there. I'd moved to a hotel Sunday night while he was at his brother's watching the game. By 10, his lawyer was calling my lawyer. By noon, Patricia called him and told him she'd given me everything. By 2, he showed up at the school where I taught. Security escorted him out. By 5, his bank accounts were frozen pending investigation. By 6, he was sitting in his car outside my hotel, but hotel security had his photo. They called the police. I watched from my window as they made him leave. He called it betrayal. I called it clarity. You've destroyed everything, he screamed into his phone, leaving me a voicemail. You've ruined my life. Over what? Because you're oversensitive? Because you can't handle being corrected? His voice cracked. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me. I saved the voicemail. Evidence of his delusion. Who loses control first? Always the abuser. They can't survive without power. Patricia called me that night. She was in the hospital. Hospice. Her voice was weak but clear. He came to see me today. Troy. I waited. He screamed at me. Said I'd destroyed him. That he'd never forgive me. She coughed, a wet rattling sound. I told him the truth. Finally. What truth? That I raised him to dominate. Not love. That I taught him women were things to manage, not partners to respect. Her breathing was labored. That I did it because I was broken, and I didn't want to be alone in that. I closed my eyes. What did he say? He said I was a traitor. That I'd chosen you over my own son. She laughed. Bitter. I told him I chose truth over lies. That it was the first honest choice I'd made in 40 years. I'm sorry, Patricia. And I was. Sorry for her wasted life, her learned cruelty, her decades of survival that turned into abuse. Don't be sorry for me. Be free. She hung up. She died 3 days later. Troy didn't speak at her funeral. I sent flowers. What does that cost them both? Him, his enabler, his co-conspirator, his mother. Her final years spent maintaining a lie. Both of them lost to the system they'd built. The divorce took 6 months. Troy fought everything. Claimed I was mentally unstable. Claimed the documents were fake. Claimed his mother had been confused, dying, unreliable. But the evidence was overwhelming. The forged signatures verified by experts. The account transfers tracked and documented. The properties bought with my inheritance. The pattern of financial control. His lawyer advised him to settle. He refused. We went to court. The judge reviewed everything. Forensic accountants testified. Patricia's lawyer submitted her deposition, recorded before she died. Bank officials confirmed the fraudulent account. Troy's colleagues testified about his comments about managing his wife. Everything was decided quietly, cleanly. The judge awarded me my full inheritance, plus damages, plus legal fees, plus 3 of the 4 rental properties. Our house went to me. His retirement account was split, his portion paying what he owed. What did I walk away with? My money, my sanity, my life, and something Troy could never steal. The truth. The settlement came through on a Tuesday. I signed the papers in Bethany's office. Walked out into Florida sunshine. Free. Before I continue, please smash the like button, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you keep getting our stories. Drop your comments if you've ever been betrayed. Troy started reaching out 2 weeks after the divorce finalized. Texts at first. I miss you. Can we talk? I made mistakes but we can fix this. I didn't respond. Then emails. Long ones, explaining how his behavior was just stress. How he'd been protecting me. How I'd misunderstood everything. I deleted them without reading past the first line. Then letters. Handwritten. Delivered to my new apartment. I've been in therapy, one said. I understand now what I did wrong. Please, just give me a chance to explain. I shredded them. Finally, he showed up at my school. Waited in the parking lot. I saw him from my classroom window. Called security. They removed him. Issued a trespass warning. He violated it twice more. A restraining order followed. The messages continued from new numbers, new emails. You're being cruel. After everything I did for you. You've changed. The old Olivia would have forgiven me. But the old Olivia was dead. Why does silence hurt more than anger? Because anger is engagement. Anger means you still care. Silence is erasure. And Troy couldn't survive being erased. I'm sitting in my new apartment in St. Petersburg now, writing this. It's been a year since Patricia's phone call. 9 months since the divorce. 6 months since the restraining order. I teach full-time. I'm taking classes for my master's degree, the one Troy mocked. I have friends now. Real ones who listen when I speak, who validate my experiences, who celebrate my successes. I don't doubt myself anymore. When I remember something I trust it. When I feel something I honor it. When I know something I speak it. I wasn't overreacting. I was waking up. The truth didn't destroy my marriage. The marriage was already destroyed. Built on lies, maintained by manipulation, sustained by my silence. Believing the lie almost destroyed me. But I survived. Some nights, I still hear Troy's voice. You're too sensitive. You're remembering wrong. You're overreacting. But now I have other voices too. Patricia's. You deserve the truth. Bethany's. This is financial abuse. My own. I'm not crazy. I'm right. The line that ends it isn't dramatic. It's simple. I believed myself. And that made all the difference.